Welcome to the April the 9th taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie, a show that will be previewed on April the 16th. We're very delighted you're in our viewing audience to get a very special spotlight as we continue the 50th anniversary celebration of the City Council of PTAs. This is our history tape number 275. We're very excited today to have three past presidents of the Grand Prairie City Council of PTAs to reminisce with us a little about their years in PTA and also a little bit of a spotlight about their tenure as the president of the City Council of PTAs. And we're very pleased to have with us today, first of all, a very special young lady, Barbara Hawes. Barbara Hawes, welcome to the set.
Thank you, Ruthie Jackson.
And you're just lucky to be here today since I told you it would be next week when we were going to tape this. And you've really pulled things together in a hurry, and we thank you for that very special effort today, Barbara.
Yes.
Next, Rachel Weems. Rachel, welcome to the set. We're excited to have you back on the set again. You're always wearing all these different hats in the community, and we're pleased to have you back as a past president.
I'm glad to be here.
And Georgia Jackson Clemson, a very special young lady in my life. We're very glad to have you on the set today, wearing any kind of hat that you want to, and we're just glad you made it today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, and teaching school early or in the day, it made it really rough to get here on time, but we thank you for making the effort, my dear. Wonderful. All right, let's begin first of all with Barbara Hawes. Barbara, your year 82, 83, was a very good year in the PTA, but before we get into your tenure, tell us a little bit about the real Barbara Hawes. What brought you to Grand Prairie, Texas? Tell me a little bit about your family for our history tape. You had a family, and that was one of the reasons you were in the PTA, but bring us up to date a little bit about that.
Well, we moved here from the snowy north, Chicago. Would never go back. All my kids were born and raised here in Texas. My husband's job brought us here.
And you'd name him and name your children?
My husband is John Hawes, and my two beautiful children are Sean Hawes, who is in the Army today, and my daughter Sherry Hawes, who is at East Texas State today.
That's wonderful.
So it was through my active role in the PTA and their schooling, and I hope they will become active in their children's lives.
All right. Now, when you came to Grand Prairie, Texas, because of your husband's job, what were the schools that your children attended? Where'd you get your first experience in the PTA? Doing what?
Gee, the very first time I can remember was in Florence Hill, and I was a scared housewife. Okay. And I watched the PTA, and I watched the president go up to the microphone, and I looked at all the people in the audience, and I said, how on earth does she have the courage to do that?
Yes.
I would be scared to death.
Yes.
And then from there, Zavala Elementary was opened, and our children went to Zavala. And from there, they went to Truman Middle School, and from there to South Grand Prairie High School.
Okay, and all of those years, beginning at Florence Hill, what was your first job at Florence Hill? Did you have a job there? Were you a room mother or something exciting?
I was. Room mother and then a volunteer coordinator, and that's probably where I got my interest in the PTA, was getting mothers to get actively involved in their children's lives.
Okay.
And then moved into PTA and actively got them involved in the PTA, who as a group could do more to get their community and their teachers and the whole organization behind the children.
Transferring on to Zavala, following your children going there, did you get involved there pretty heavily at Zavala? Yes, tell us about Zavala.
It was a brand new elementary school, so it was great. It was starting from the ground up and starting PTAs and starting the community. And so we started gung-ho as a volunteer coordinator, and then as vice president, and then as president. Mm-hmm. And got my feet wet real well and enjoyed every minute of it. My motto was, you don't get involved a little, but you get involved a lot.
That's it. That's great. All right, and then on to Truman Middle School. Did you hold any offices there and get involved again?
Oh, yes. At that time, Sharon Ellen was our principal. And with Sharon, believe me, you were involved or you didn't enjoy the school, and we did. Was involved again as on the council every year, and then as parliamentarian, and work closely with Sharon on several committees at Truman. So enjoyed
Good.
that.
Wonderful. And then to South?
South, I held some chairmanships because I was already, my kids were were getting older, and I was still involved through chairmanships. So yes, I enjoyed that too.
And where in all of these phases did the City Council of PTAs fit in?
In between Zavala and Truman.
All right. Council came in the interim.
Yes.
All right. Tell me about council. As a volunteer coordinator, what got you really, really active in the City Council?
Watching, being able to take a program from our school and instituting it citywide,
Yes.
and getting more and more school districts actively involved and getting parents involved in their children's education. So when I went to council, it was as a chairman, and then as a, I believe it was an aide, and then as a president, and
Yes.
enjoyed every minute. And it was Judy Johnson who really brought me into council, and I'd like to say special thanks to Judy, because her professionalism just brought us so far in those years.
Yes, that's great. And at the City Council level, during your year in the chair, what was probably your best feeling about the project that you enjoyed the most?
Watching the many citywide programs take shape, being able to honor all the kids in the community through the cultural arts and the environmental poster contests, and watching the school district pull together as a whole, as a representation of the whole city, I think was my overall best remembrance of what I accomplished as a City Council PTA president.
And as a very gifted artist in your own right, what's Barbara doing today?
Oh, I wish you hadn't asked. I can honestly say, and I guess I've been wanting to say this for a very long time, it was because of the PTA and involvement and being able to take that big giant step to talk in front of people that my job today I feel I'm very successful at. I am a sales representative for a convention and trade show company, and I do many presentations before many corporations, travel around the United States doing conventions and trade shows. And if I had not been involved and taken that first step and talked in front of that first audience, I'm not sure I could walk into a room full of executives today and give a major presentation and sell them on what a good company we are.
That's wonderful. And your company at this time is?
Freeman Decorating Company of Dallas.
Of Dallas.
Yes.
And how long have you been with them?
13 years.
13 years. And do you still do any artwork on your own?
Now I do artwork in the computer.
In the computer.
And we do a lot of graphics in our computer. We do a lot of special events. The company hosts many special events here in Dallas and nationwide. So I still get to really produce events, see them materialize, see the people enjoy them, and then take them away.
One last thing, Judy Johnson, one of your mentors, or the main mentor in PTA, did you take someone by the hand when you were the president and you feel like you were their mentor?
Well, I didn't have to take her by the hand. She walked side by side with me, and I give great thanks to Lynette Cosby, because without her during my year as City Council PTA president and my years at Zavala and the years now, I don't think it would have been near as successful if it had not been for Lynette. So I do not want to say I took her by the hand, but I would say together we took the PTA into what we thought was a very good year.
That was wonderful. And Lynette should have been here today, but Lynette has had a new job assignment. Her company has been bought by someone else, and apparently she was afraid she could not get away gracefully today, so we're going to have to put off her interview until she feels a little bit more comfortable. I was hoping I could have the two of you together here today.
It would have been nice.
All right. We'll get back with you in a few minutes if we don't waste all of the time on this sweet Rachel that's sitting here. Rachel Weems, tell us a little bit about what brought you to Grand Prairie, Texas before we get into that, and name your family and some of the reasons you're working in the PTA.
I was married a Grand Prairie boy, James D. Weems Jr. We moved here a couple of years after we got married. I have two children. Ross is our youth minister at our church at Indian Hills.
All right.
And my daughter is a freshman at Mountain View, and her name is Heather. That's the only two I have, and I'm glad they're nearly grown. I started PTA when my son first began first grade.
When Ross was in the first grade?
Yes.
Where?
At Milam.
At Milam, okay.
And my first job was beautification. Very fitting, I think, because I've worked in beautification for years. Was beautification chairman there for 1 year. The next year I became president at Milam, and I was president 2 years at Milam. And since I was only there a year before I was president, I had worked very hard. I had to learn a lot. And the council president at that time was Judy Johnson, and she was very kind. She would field my calls and answer my questions. And so I feel that Judy kind of led me to begin with in a very good way. Also got to know Lynette during that time. And I was there at Milam until my daughter went on to graduate out of Milam. And they both went through Kennedy Middle School, and they both went to South.
And then on to South.
Yes.
Okay, as you progressed from Milam as beautification chairman and then the presidency, did you go on into Kennedy immediately and take a role in that PTA?
Yes, I was aide to the president the year Kennedy was started. So I helped form the PTA at Kennedy. Okay. And I also, that was the next year we got the concession stand, and so I helped set up the first concession stand for the different activities at the football field, football track, and everything. So we worked many hours at the concession stand at Kennedy. Was not president at Kennedy because I had too many other offices. I think I was president of council at the time my kids were sometime in Kennedy and South. So at South, I don't know which offices I didn't hold at South.
Yes.
I was president. The hardest job at a high school is the chairman of the senior activities, and I did that twice. And that's why I'm glad I only had 2 kids.
Yes.
Because it was a job both times. But I enjoyed it. It's just a lot of last minute work.
And as in Kennedy, between that and South, you were president of council. Was that the first job that you held at council, or did you climb the ladder at council?
No, I had served in council starting, I think, my second year as a president. I was a president's rep, and then I held beautification. I don't know how many jobs I've had at council, many different jobs. The only 2 that I would not take was, well, there was 3, cultural arts, scholarship, and secretary. I wouldn't take cultural arts and scholarship because they are a tremendous job, and they still are. Yeah. Secretary I wouldn't take because I couldn't listen and talk and take notes at the same time.
Personal reasons.
Yes, personal
reasons.
But I enjoyed my years at council. Barbara was president when I was active in PTA, and I served as Georgia's aide to the president for 2 years. Learned a lot from all those that came before me. Tried to set my goals as high as they had set theirs, tried to obtain those goals. Worked very hard, put a lot of time, a lot of effort into my council years.
Did you ever go to a state convention, district conference, and all of that good stuff?
Oh, did I ever go to state convention? Yes, many times. Went to many different state conventions. San Antonio, couple of 3 times, Houston, Galveston, way out west to El Paso.
Yes.
Many different ones. The thing that I always liked about state convention was their workshops and the training that they would give you at a state convention. District workshops were always good, and I always tried to take advantage of all those workshops that were available.
We know that when you're the president of the PTA and you need to go to a state convention, that you have to make an investment in that time because you leave your family, the routines of someone having to take your kids to school, and all of the cover-up things that you need to do. Do you think that was worth the investment?
Well, I do, yes. Yes, I do. I think I started out to help my children through elementary school, and I found out after a while that when my kids benefited, the whole class benefited, and then the whole school benefited, because I spent many hours as a volunteer at Milam when I was there, and at Kennedy. So I feel like that was time well invested.
Yes.
In our city and the school district.
Are you in the PTA now?
Yes. My husband thought that since my daughter graduated that I should be out by now. I'm going to be post-PTA president next year.
That is the highest rung on the ladder in Grand Prairie, Texas. When you get to be post-PTA president, that is the ultimate.
Yes, because then you can relax and enjoy it and have a lot of fun with it.
Yes, and that's wonderful.
Yes, I'm looking forward to a good year.
Looking forward to that, and you're going to be installed in April?
Yes.
Yes, that's wonderful. And what do you do with the rest of your life since you were council president? Have you ever worked out of the home, and if so, what do you do?
I teach preschool at Inglewood Methodist Preschool, and this is my 11th year there. I love being with the kids. We have a good staff. We have a good director. It's just a perfect place. I started when my daughter was in the 3rd grade, and I've been there since.
Yes.
My son only made one request when he was in high school. He said, "Mother, do colleges have PTA?" And I said, "No, but I could probably start one somewhere."
You could probably start one.
Yes.
That is true. And who do you think was your chief mentor?
Gee, I had so many.
Like
Started
Judy.
out with Judy. Didn't work too long with Barbara because she took over after Judy and she was there a year. Worked a lot with Lynette. Worked a lot with Georgia.
And who did you bring along as a person that you led into PTA and leadership? Building leadership is one of the prime movers of
I can't
the
take
PTA.
all the credit. I really can't, because she's a self-starter. But Debbie Brubaker became president not too long after I was council president, and I encouraged her and tried to lead her in some of the right ways that she might need some training in.
Did you do anything in the district PTA, which is 12 counties?
Yes, I served at first as environmental chairman for a 2-year term, and then I was parliamentarian for 2 years, and I served another year as EPA chairman or environmental chairman.
That's wonderful. You've done yeoman's work. We want to thank you, especially going on up into district, because that's tough when you have to go over the 12 counties, and I know you have assignments and all of that. We'll get back with you in a few minutes if we have time, which we hope we will. Georgia Jackson Clemson.
Yes,
I believe the year 1985 through 87, 2 years also. You two, the last two of you all, spent 2 years as council president. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Georgia Clemson, and your family, and why you were in the PTA.
Alrighty.
Okay.
My husband is Dan, and we have 3 children. Spencer, who's 23 and is still in school. Leanna Clemson Garcia, who is 21 and recently married.
But she's still in school, too.
She is in school, but she has plans to graduate in May, and we're all going to celebrate, which is wonderful. And Allison Clemson is a freshman at Northlake this semester. She was at Harding last semester, and she's back home with us now at Northlake. And I personally work for Dan still down at Product Sales, and I'm teaching several classes at Fort Worth Christian in music at the present time.
Yes.
And I guess it's sort of like osmosis, the way I got into PTA, since my mother was into PTA up to here, or maybe up to here, for the longest, ever since I can remember at least. You remember you.
Yeah, I remember I knew. Thank you.
Well, as a matter of fact, I probably had decided I would probably never be in PTA, because every time the phone would ring at home, it would be for Mother, and it'd be PTA this and PTA that, and there were PTA papers here and cultural arts posters there, and I thought, I'm never going to do this. But then when those little children come along and get into school and you want to do something positive for your own, like Rachel said, it's first a very selfish reason, because you want your children to get to have your support there in the schools and do as much as you can to encourage them. But then the picture starts to get bigger, thank goodness, and we think about all the children that we can affect by making a positive step in their school and doing these things for them and with them.
Wonderful. And since you went to school at Fannin, Jefferson, and Grand Prairie High School, what schools did your children attend?
Well, we started at LBJ. Spencer started in kindergarten at LBJ. And of course, I attended the meetings there. That was my first year, and was active in his little parties and as a homeroom mother and everything. And then we moved, and Spencer started in at Eisenhower Elementary. And we spent the rest of our elementary years at Eisenhower with all three kids. And if you start asking me where I had different offices, because I was in Eisenhower and then I had somebody in Adams and somebody in high school, all in the same year, I don't remember what I was when. I just remember I was busy most of the time during that time.
And your experience at Eisenhower Elementary, you were president at Eisenhower.
Yes, I was.
You remember that part.
I do remember that very well,
Yes.
and I was, I believe, council delegate and several other things there.
Yes. And your experiences at Eisenhower, did you find that they really supported the PTA? And
Yes, very supportive. The parents all wanted to be involved. It's a very good school.
And then to Adams, and
Yes.
when you were at Adams, were you ever president of Adams?
Yes, I was, and it gets a little harder the older the children are to get the parents involved, and so it's even though you've been president before, it's a new set of circumstances, a new set of challenges.
And then on to your...
Then on to high school, and it's the same story there. More and more of the parents are busy and less active in the kids' activities, are less active in the PTA. I think they've become more specialized. Some are interested in their child's sports or perhaps other areas, drama, but they have less time maybe for PTA.
Since you were a student at Grand Prairie High School at one time and then came back as a parent, did you find much difference in the school system at that time?
Well, I think so. Of course, when I was a student, I didn't worry about the school system. It was mostly social life at that point. But
Tennis and lunch.
Tennis and lunch were very important priorities, and choir, Mr. Keel.
Yes.
But I'm sure it's changed quite a bit. It had, in my perspective, it's changed quite a bit, yes.
And when you were in the City Council of PTAs, you must have had some mentors and role models. Would you like to name drop a little?
Well, of course, as I already said, my mother was in PTA forever, so I could always count on her for advice. And of course, my Aunt Louise was a president of council, so she had some past experience I could pull from. Also, Peggy Ellard was wonderful. I would always call Peggy. Peggy knows everything.
Yes. Yes.
She has a wonderful memory, and she was treasurer and took care of scholarship for many, many years, so she knew all of the details that I wasn't as good at as far as the facts and figures, perhaps.
And
Lynette and Judy, of course,
Yes.
and the ones who have gone before, Barbara, all of the ones who went before, we looked to them for help. Help, please, somebody.
And then from the City Council of PTAs, after you finished your tenure there, did you go on to district and do anything?
Well, no, I did not. I didn't serve as an officer of district.
Did you serve as a chairman?
Did I, Rachel? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you, weren't you historian at district at one time?
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you.
Yes. You have wiped out District 2. That's easy to do.
Thank you for reminding me. That must have been one of those years when I was in all three schools.
At the same time.
That's right.
Okay. Of all the things that happened during your year, did you go to the state conventions and all of
Yes,
this?
we went to everything that we possibly could and loved it. And summer seminar was always a favorite thing to do down in Austin, to stay in the dorm and all of that stuff. Also, I noticed in my history book, which was a good reminder, that we celebrated Council's 40th year that year. Yes, that first year as president.
And this last year, and that's the reason we're commemorating this, it's down to the 50th year. Can you believe
I cannot
that it was
believe it.
10 years past and gone?
And
Well,
you didn't ask me what my favorite thing was.
what was your favorite thing?
I share with Barbara the love for the cultural arts. That is one of the most rewarding, I think, of our programs in the PTA, to be able to see those proud children and parents come up there to get there and to show their work, what they've done, and they really take pride in that. And I think it builds a lot of self-esteem and gives them an opportunity to show what they can do, and I think it's a very positive program.
I believe you came back as cultural arts chairman after you were council president. Is that right?
Yes, and I think I was trying to forget that. That was a hard
That was one
job.
part to forget.
It was.
Well, we're down to 1 minute. It has just been wonderful having you all with us. Do you have a last 1/2 minute thing you'd like to say to parents that might want to get in the PTA?
Just be involved, stay involved, and it's worth every minute that you spend.
And Rachel, any wise words from the illustrious one?
I wouldn't let personalities interfere so much with their PTA work. Get in, do a good job, and
Try to get along with everyone.
And philosopher,
Yes, I will say something. I do want to encourage all the parents to get in and support the PTA, and for the sake of your children, and also in the process you're going to build leadership and confidence in your own skills, which is great.
that is really great. I want to thank you three nice ladies for coming to be with us today. It's been a delight. History tape number 275 will be very memorable, hopefully, to you all as well as to us. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.